Hi everybody, Martyn at Black and Feathers again today, tying Dan Blanton's Flashtail Whistler. It's a great fly for loads of different species, tarpon, snook, jacks, black bass, stripers. In the right conditions this fly is devastating. Now, as always, I'll put a materials list in the description, along with a link to the Patreon page for anybody that wants to support the channel. Get access to the monthly fly tying meetings, or tying classes I should say, as well as entering the giveaways. Also, if you do find the video useful, please remember to bump the like button, that'd be very appreciated. So I've got my hook and my vise. I'm tying this on a 2.0 SL12. You can use other hooks, SC15's good, the Mustard's tarpon, is it C78, that's a good hook. Whatever you choose, make sure it's a short shank. Right. And I've started some white thread, this is 140 denier. Danville's Flymaster, or flat waxed, I don't remember. And then I'm just locking on these bead chain eyes. These are 5mm bead chain eyes. Give them a check, make sure they're fine, which they are. And then I'm going to add some lead wire. This is 020. I'm putting on 10, I've wrapped on 10 turns and my tag's enough to give me another one. Right. And then I'm just going to cover that with the thread. You do not need to add the lead wire really if you don't want to, but there's not a lot of weight in the bead chain, and to be quite honest, there's quite a lot of bucktail, so a fair bit of buoyancy in the fly. That lead's not going to make it dive to the bottom. And I'm going to come to the back, and I'm going to stop the thread sort of between the point of the hook and the barb. Right, I'm keeping this body compact and short. My whole tail tie-in is going to happen at the same point, right? There's not going to be any creep. Right, I'm going to put 4 or 5 or 6 sets of tie-ins here. And they're all going to be in the same spot. Now you can put a bit less material, or fewer tie-ins I should say, and just thicken up the bunches, but I'm going to sort of tie it in the way that I first learned it when on Dan's forum on his website. I don't know if it still exists, his website. If it does, I'll put a link in the description to it. I'll have a wee search. So, get my first bunch of bucktail, and I'm tying it in. I'm making the fly like 10 centimetres, so around about that 4-inch mark is going to be like the main body of the fly. I'll cut the tag ends at a taper, and I'm going to wind forward, tying everything down nice and secure, making sure there's no roll or creep in the material. Right, I want it all up on top. And I'm going to take my Flashabou. I've got here a mix of silver and pearl, just ordinary Flashabou, and I've got 10 strands each maybe. I don't count them, but I'm putting plenty on. fold it, tie it in, sorry, fold it over, and again keep it on top. You don't want this rolling, you want it all to kind of stay together. Just lock it in place. You can pull slightly upwards and towards yourself to counteract the thread torque. And just ignore that then for now. We've got another bunch of white bucktail. Similar size. You see nowadays a lot of people, and it's perfectly fine to do this, you just tie 2 big heavy clumps. It works, you know, but I'm just, for the sake of this, I'm sort of doing it as you would maybe see on Dan's website. Again, cut that at an angle, cover it, making a tapered base, and I'm going to make sure that my tie-in is still at that same point between the point and barb. Cement this heavily. I'm not using super glue, I'm just using like ordinary nail polish. It's fine, that soaks in, it makes a very, very durable fly. Then I'll get, I've got a sort of light, I've got a kind of pale fluorescent red bucktail here. We'll tie in another bunch of that. We'll keep it the same length as our other bunch of bucktail. And again, trim it at the angle, tie in, secure it all down. And I just want to show you this from at the top. See how it's narrow? I'm keeping everything built one stack on top of the other. I'm not letting it roll. Then I've got a darker red. I'm not going to put any here in the stacker, but I'm just making sure that if there's any really long tips that they're sort of in the bunch, making it a bit more aligned. Same again, just another bunch tied in. And always make sure this is all tied in at the same point. Cut it at an angle. Pat of cement. Tie over it. I like to sort of take gathering wraps at first, then kind of work my way back up onto it. Now a bit of flash. I'm using Peacock Crystal Flash, or Crystal Splash. It's the Spirit River stuff. Don't know, you kind of get this. Spirit River's defunct, but sort of blacker Peacock Crystal Flash will do fine. 10 strands or so. Just sit up on top. Let it be the length or slightly shorter than the bucktail. And it's just to give you that sort of shading. Trim that away. Then I'll get some pearl. Say about 10 hairs. if it's 12 or 15, I don't think it's that crucial. I mean, these are no flies. There's nothing subtle about the Flashtail whistler. Although you can tie flashtails much more subtly than these. You know, certain patterns you can put, like if you're tying a wee, maybe like a bait fish for the flats or something, shallow skinny water fish are spooky, you could have a flashtail that's only half a dozen or 4 strands of Flashabou. So I've tied that on my side, and I'm going to fold it over, and then I'll just pull it back and find my length, cut it, and I'll spread that on both sides, make sure it's sort of opened up. And tie back. I'm going to get a grizzly neck hackle, and this is a whiting American Cape. Pick a couple that are the same shape tips. Don't worry if the overall feather length's the same, as long as the tips are the same, and you line them up. Then make sure they're the same length. Find how long you want them. Come to the back of the bucktail, so about there. Right, don't strip your hackle stem. Right, there are videos about on other channels where you see people tying half and halves and deceivers, and they tell you to strip the stem. Then they say, oh, the hackle might twist, so you use UV resin. The alternative is just don't strip the stem and tie it in, and it will just sit for you. Right. There is no need to strip the stem. It only creates an opportunity for a problem to happen. I've tied them down the side there, look, they're sitting perfectly, they're not trying to roll. Right, they're exactly where I want them. And they always sit like that because I've left some feather fibre at the tie-in point. Right. Cement again. Get some red chenille, it's always red. Right, you can change the colours of the rest of the fly, basically, right? I mean, well, you can change the colour of the chenille if you want. Like, here I've got an olive one with a copper flashtail, and I've got my wee flash of red in there. Oops. Chartreuse, gold flashtail, wee flash of red. The idea is that this simulates a gill. And when you pause it on the strip, it sort of becomes apparent. It's quite a good idea when viewed from behind and beneath. So I'm going to take a couple of wraps and build it up. I've only got medium chenille, I've run out of large red. Otherwise I would only be putting like 2 wraps. I would recommend that you use large if you've got it. But if you don't, a couple of turns extra just to widen it, but don't make it any longer. Right, you just want that wee short ball. I'm going to tidy that up. And again, with the cement, Just, I mean, you can use less cement if you want, but you know, if you're fishing out in a boat, you might not be losing many of these, so you might as well make them as tough as you can. Hackles, a couple of schlappen-y things, really webby. You want nice webby hackles. They don't need to be big long things. I have 2 white. Yeah, I'm going to tie them in by the tip. Wind them one at a time. So we'll get that. And again, I'm not waiting for that cement to dry. I never am, right, when I'm tying like this. I just get it on. It can soak into the stem of the hackle or into the root of the material. And then I'm just going to wind this hackle, folding it as I go. And I'm keeping the turns nice and tight. No, trying not to let it creep forward too much. I'm coming right into the fluff at the bottom of the feather. I'm going to catch it off on the underside. Trim that away. Now, with this first hackle, what I like to do is I'll fluff it up just to see how it's sitting, and then that takes the twist out, and then I just wrap back and touch and turns. Until I'm right hard against the chenille. And what happens is it forces the feather to rest against the chenille and sort of stand up, which gives you a bit more life and movement in the fly. If that can just slope back, it doesn't breathe as much in the water on the strip, or on the paws, I suppose it is really. Next one, and by the tip, I'll fold that over, break it away. Same again, I'm going to come right down into the base of the feather, sweeping it back as I go, getting as much of that mobile flew as I can. A few wraps and tie it on the underside, trim away your waist. And the last thing is just a nice soft grizzly hackle. I'm taking one from the back. It's the same, it's that white and American, but if you come into the back of the neck, there's some nice soft webby feathers. They've often got nice fluffy base. And this is just to give it a wee bit of kind of contrast, darken the face a wee bit. Same thing again, just tie it in by the tip, fold it back. Sweep the hackle back as you wind. Again, I'm just using this up, pulling it nice and tight, making sure I can get in. And then when I get to the back here, the back of the bead chain, catch it in the underside. Nice tight turns, thread, put that, trim it close. Make sure everything's sitting. You sort of fluff it up, that knocks the twist out of the feather. And then come in some X-wraps just to sort of smooth out this area, although I doubt you need to really. Now you can finish the fly like that. I'm going to just come in and I'm going to run my fingers along the Flashabou so that it's all bunched together. I'm going to trim it so it's all the same length. Right, I don't want my Flashabou staggered. If it's staggered, it separates. And the point of this flash tail is that it stays together and it gives you like just one flash. Right, it's all flashing at the same time rather than all being separate and sparkling. I'm going to put a weed guard in this fly. I'm going to use some 40-pound fluorocarbon, but you can use whatever you prefer. Don't use your good tine scissors. You need something that's stiff enough to make the fly turn if it hits a stick or something. So, got myself 2 or 3 inches there, folded it over, 4 wraps, put the tag ends back and go the other way, 4 wraps, pull that down, and 1, 2, 3, 4 figure 8s one way, 4 the other, and then if you turn over the fly, what you can then do is if you come up and you put the thread over the monofilament a couple of times, and onto the hook. That'll just encourage it to sort of separate. Right. I'll hit finish. There's one other one. Come in, trim that. And then more cement. And then you've got a bomb-proof whistler, right? It's cemented at every stage. I mean, alright, if a barracuda eats it, it'll be destroyed, or a bluefish will damage it, but it will survive more than one bluefish. Last thing to do is just to cut your weed guard. Just come back, I'll cut it so it's slightly longer than the length of the point of the hook, and that's plenty. It's just enough to turn the fly if it hits some stick or deflect a bit of weed, and still easily, you just got to push it away when you strip set. So I hope that was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like button below, and I'll see you for another video. Tight lines guys, bye.